Good morning, class 12 students. I would like to welcome all of you in the digital class session of biology. Now, today I'm going to start a new chapter that is included in your higher secondary syllabus, and the name of the chapter is Biology and Human Welfare. Actually, that is the name of the unit, that is the unit 3, Biology and Human Welfare, and the name of the specific chapter under this unit is Microbes in Human Welfare. So today I'm going to basically focus on this part, that is microbes in human welfare. So please make sure that you're paying attention in order to get your concepts absolutely clear. So let's proceed forward with today's discussion. Those microscopic organisms which are not visible in our naked eye are called microbes or microorganisms. Their size varies from 0.1 millimeter or maybe less. They include bacteria, fungi, protozoans, and plants which are visible only under microscope, that is, they have been absolutely microscopic in nature. Microbes help in human welfare, like in industrial food processing, that is, in the preparation of dairy products like curd, cheese, yogurt, in the preparation of dough for preparation of food, single cell protein which serve as source of modern food, preparation of other household utility products like jaggery or palm sugar, sausage. Okay, now in addition to human welfare, some microbes cause different types of diseases in our body and other living organisms, due to which food matter generally undergoes deterioration, causing damages to furnitures, optical instruments, clothing, machinery, jellies, jam, etc. But still, some of the activities of microbes are very useful for our daily life, like production of antibiotics, dairy products like curd. It is more nutritious. Now this curd has been more nutritious than milk because it contains a very good number of vitamins in addition to organic acids. Then also it helps in the production of cheese, yogurt, beverages which has been obtained by fermentation in sewage treatment. It also helps in sewage treatment. Microbes helps in sewage treatment. Okay, it also helps in helps in the industrial productions of beverages. Now in the generation of energy, also acts as your biocontrol agents, as biofertilizers. So now let's focus on the next topic, which deals with the concept of microbes in household food processing. Okay, so the first which we are going to discuss is about dairy products. Now lactobacillus, a lactic acid bacteria, when added to milk, generally converts lactose sugar present within the milk into lactic acid, which ultimately cause production of casein after the milk protein undergoes coagulation. Okay. Curd. The inoculum used in the preparation of curd, prepared in India by inoculating the skimmed and cream milk by utilizing lactic acid bacteria like Lactobacillus acidophilus. Okay. Yogurt. It has been produced by curdling a liquid which is generally forms the lump. Milk with the help of bacteria like Streptococcus thermophilus and Lactobacillus bulgaricus. Often the yogurt has been sweetened and flavored tastefully with the help of different fruits. Buttermilk, an acidulate product which has been prepared by inoculating skimmed milk with inoculate culture of different bacteria like Streptococcus cremoris, Streptococcus lactis, Lactobacillus acidophilus, okay, Leuconostoc species. All right. Now it also helps in production of cheese. Cheese is the partially degraded concentrate of milk fat casein prepared by the activity of microorganism. Now the different varieties of cheese which have been produced, like fresh or unripened cheese, ripened cheese, okay, other varieties like Swiss cheese, Roquefort cheese. Now basically if I talk about the types and varieties, now type has been basically produced in, means it's categorized into two types, like fresh or unripened and ripened, and the varieties have been like your Swiss cheese, Roquefort cheese. Again it can be categorized in the terms of quality, like soft cheese, hard cheese. So basically different flavors of cheese, like which has been categorized according to their types, according to their varieties, according to their qualities. Okay. Now, this microbe is also useful in making dough for making different types of foods. Okay, like I'll give you some example, like by using one or more types of microbes, idli, dosa, jalebi, bread, like many food matters are being prepared for daily use of human beings by mean of fermentation process. Okay, now let's focus on bakery products. Now, from flour, bread is being prepared. Flour is obtained by grinding cereal grain wheat. Specific strains of Saccharomyces cerevisiae grows on molasses and are used as baker's yeast. So, a small quantity of yeast is being added for the work of dough or clay prepared from wheat flour with the hands. Now, this is called kneaded. The dough or clay work with hands kept in a room for few hours in warm temperature, which finally swells up, and this phenomenon is called leveling leavening. Okay, so in this case a substance has been added to the dough to make it ferment and rise, but due to liberation of three types of enzyme like amylase, maltase and zymase by yeast, the process of leveling leavening is generally caused. Okay, now it also plays a crucial role in single cell protein. Like a very important food source is single cell protein, which may be also used for human consumption, because in addition to protein they possess a good source of vitamins, minerals, carbohydrates and fats. It is also used as animal feed. Now, single cell protein is obtained from spirulina plant plantensis, okay, which is a filamentous alga, yeast and fusarium germini grami graminearum. Okay, fusarium graminearum, that is the correct pronunciation. Okay, now, other household products, like it's been used like a traditional refreshing drink toddy, which has been obtained from coconut plant by trapping the unopened species. Okay, a refreshing drink is toddy from which palm sugar or jaggery is also been produced by heating. For the preparation of edible food, microbes are also being used to ferment fish, soybean. Okay, now from soybean, a very popular type of food has been prepared by fermentation process, which is termed as tempeh. Okay, kettle, tempeh kettle, which is a good source of vitamin B12. Soybean is also produced by other household products, uh, tofu and sufi. So now let's move into the next topic, which deals with the concept of microbes in industrial production. Basically, your beverages, antibiotics, and all this. Okay. So, two common industrial products which have been obtained by the fermentation process of microbes are your beverages and antibiotics. Now, beverages which has been obtained due to fermentation by yeast. Okay, now as I told you, brewer's yeast, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, a species of yeast, wine yeast, that is Saccharomyces ellipsoides. Okay, now many varieties are also there. Snake yeast, Saccharomyces sake. Okay, so for the preparation of beer, the nutrient media is barley malt. For now, the unicellular fungus yeast are of two types, baker's yeast and brewer's yeast. Now, baker's yeast, some specific strains of Saccharomyces cerevisiae are used in bakery to bring about the necessary changes in flavor and texture of the baked products. Now, this type of yeast sold in the market as baker's yeast, and brewer's yeast means the type of yeast species which have been utilized in the brewery for the preparation of alcoholic drinks are collectively termed as brewer's yeast. So, different types of alcoholic beverages are being produced by the application of different types of brewer's yeast, and also they are the medium of fermentation. So, various types of alcoholic drinks are produced by performing the process of distillation or without distillation. Alright, like Acetobacter aceti, after oxidizing alcohol into acetic acid, produces vinegar. Clostridium acetobutylicum, okay, Eubacterium ferments carbohydrate, producing butyl alcohol and acetone methyl alcohol from glucose. So yeast are basically important in their production, as they cannot as they can ferment carbohydrate media, resulting in the formation of alcohol and carbon dioxide. So yeast are very important in their production. Okay, the carbon dioxide basically helps in making the loaf spongy. Sugar has been converted to alcohol by alcoholic fermentation. So yeast are used in breweries basically of two types, the top yeast and the bottom yeast. Okay, top yeast produce alcohol at the top sugar solution, while the latter remains in the lower portion where oxygen supply is low. Okay, yeast also makes a valuable food as they are rich in enzymes and vitamins and are useful in medicines. So, like the alcoholic fermentation reaction, what was the reaction? That sugar in presence of enzyme, specifying the name of this enzyme was zymase, and sugar is like take the glucose molecule which will be acting as a sugar. So in presence of zymase, it's been converted into ethyl alcohol, two molecules of ethyl alcohol with the production of two molecules of carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide basically gets escaped and accumulate in the solution surface where alcohol accumulation, or you can say alcohol accumulates at the bottom of the solution. Okay. Now antibiotics, the antibiotics are nothing but chemical substances which are liberated from some microorganism which inhibit the perfect growth and proper development of other microorganisms or inactive them or rather kill them. So antibiotics are also prepared from lichens, eubacteria, fungi and actinomycetes. Now, these chemical substances basically help human being against the attack of microbes. So, after the discovery of penicillin by Sir Alexander Fleming in the year 1929, the study of antibiotics generally started, and Alexander Fleming observed that the filtrates of a broth culture of the fungus Penicillium notatum possess the antibacterial characteristics in connection with the gram-positive bacteria. Okay. Nowadays, antibiotics are widely used as medicine to cure various infectious diseases. A good number of important diseases can be cured properly by the suitable application of antibiotics. So, the disease which can be checked are like typhoid, plague, tuberculosis, etc. Okay. Now, bioactive molecules. Now, bioactive molecules are of two types: cyclosporin A and statin. Now, cyclosporin A, it's a very important bioactive chemical which has been produced by the fungus Trichoderma polysporum. Okay, and what is the use? Used as immunosuppressive agent in cases of organ transplantation. Okay, and statin, the second one is statin, which has been produced by the fungus Monascus purpureus. Okay, now what is the use of statin? It's act as a competitive enzyme inhibitor, lowers cholesterol in blood by inhibiting the enzyme synthesizing cholesterol in the human body. Organic acids, several organic acids are also being produced by microbes as industrial products like acetic acid or vinegar production. Now, generally, two steps are mainly noticed in acetic acid production. What is the first step? The unicellular fungus yeast converts the sugar into ethanol in absence of oxygen. Okay, and the second step is in presence of oxygen, ethanol undergoes oxidation to produce acetic acid. Okay, so the two bacteria which has been involved in this step are your acidobacter and gluconobacter. Okay, now this process has been termed as acidification. Like utilizing the species of Aspergillus and mucus, citric acid has been obtained through the process of fermentation which has been carried out on sugary syrups. Okay. Now again by means of microbial fermentation, the first organic acid which was produced was lactic acid. Now lactic acid fermentation is carried out by two bacteria like Streptococcus lactis and Lactobacillus. Okay. Now Aspergillus niger have the power to produce gallic acid, gluconic acid, which is used in pharmaceuticals, which has been prepared by the utilization of Penicillium chrysogenum. Okay. Enzymes, an organic catalyst which is usually protein in nature produced within the living cell that accelerates a specific biochemical reaction by lowering the activation energy required for that reaction is known as your enzyme. Okay, now streptokinase from the culture of some hemolytic streptococci, an enzyme has been obtained which is called streptokinase. Now it is also called tissue plasminogen activator because of its fibrolytic effect. Now for that reason, by the help of which blood clot is formed inside the blood vessel can be cleared. Okay. Pectinases, it's another enzyme. Pectinases are being obtained commercially by the utilization of Bisoclamys fulva. Okay. Now other uses of pectinases are like preparation of green coffee. It's used in preparation of green coffee. Okay. Now lipases, it's a lipid dissolving enzyme lipases which have been obtained from Candida lipolytica and Geotrichum candidum. Okay, so in the detergent, lipases are added which helps in removing oily stains from the clothes in the laundry. Okay, to give flavor to cheese, it's also being used. So now let's focus on the next topic which deals with the concept of sewage treatment. Okay, so now you need to know what do you mean by this term sewage treatment. Now sewage treatment is basically the process of removing the contaminants from wastewater and household sewage which both run off domestic, either commercial or institutional. Okay, the sewage should not be allowed to pass directly to the rivers or water bodies. Why? Because it contains a large number of pathogenic microbes and harmful chemicals. It endangers the life of human and animals with maximum number of waterborne diseases and deaths. Okay, so therefore prior to disposal of sewage in water bodies, wastewater should be treated with, or you can say treated in effluent treatment plants. Okay, so the three stages of sewage treatment includes primary treatment, okay, then comes your secondary treatment, and the third one is tertiary treatment. Now these are actually three stages of sewage treatment. Okay, so now let's focus on the first treatment, or you can say the first stage of treatment, that is primary treatment. Okay, now you will be able to see this chart. Now this chart is actually a chart, or you can say it's a flow chart which is showing the sewage treatment. Okay, the process, the stages. Okay, now as I told you, the first stage is primary treatment. So from sewage, floating and suspended solid particles, whether large or small, should be removed by the help of two sequential process, that is filtration and sedimentation. Okay, so this is the first process which has been used. Okay, filtration or sedimentation. So these two process. At the beginning, floating water from the sewage is removed by the process of sequential filtration. The filtrate formed is generally kept in an open, large settling tank where small loose particles or stones or sand grit, sink or fall downwards, and those particles settle down. And sedimentation, like after filtration, the solid sediment which has been collected at the bottom of the tank is called primary sludge, while floating particles, that is the supernatant, which is also termed as your effluent. So the primary sludge which is formed having the capacity to trap a large number of microorganisms and scattered pieces of rubbish. So for the removal of the most of the organic matter, it undergoes composting by means of anaerobic digestion. Okay, so this was my primary sewage where I have to start the physical process. So the first stage was sedimentation and filtration and sedimentation. So after performing the filtration sedimentation, what I am getting by small loose particles of the stone or sand generally settle down, which is being termed as your grit. Okay, now this should be kept in a stored place, a proper place, so where it is getting stored in your primary settling tanks. Okay, so it is getting settled down in primary settling tank, Now it also forms your primary sludge. Okay, the sediments and the supernatant which has been formed is been termed as your effluent. Okay, so from this small loose particles of stone, it is having two probabilities. One, it will settle down, and another one, it's going to form the primary sludge and your supernatant. Now these again will undergo the process of composting, or you can say it undergoes the composting method by means of anaerobic digestion. Okay, so this was your primary treatment. Okay, so this entire process, this entire steps was related to primary treatment. Now let's focus on secondary sewage treatment. Now what's happening in secondary sewage treatment? Now secondary sewage treatment is being done by several methods. Like the first one is oxidation or aeration tanks. Okay, see, the first which should be used is the aeration tank. Also you need trickling filters. What do you need? You need your aeration tank, right? You need trickling filters, and you also need activated sludge. So this is the requirement for your secondary treatment. Okay, it's been done by several methods like oxidation or aeration tank. You need trickling filters, and you need an activated sludge system. So now you follow the activated sludge which has been formed in this primary sewage treatment. Now this activated sludge is taken into the aeration tank. So this is a part of your secondary treatment. Okay, so this the primary effluent which has been activated in the primary treatment is taken into aeration tank during the activated sludge system process for secondary treatment. Now, in the aeration tank, a large number of aerobic heterotrophic microorganisms grow. In that state, it is continuously agitated mechanically when air from external source is pumped into aeration tank to turn beneficial microbes into flocs. So, flocs are basically collections of bacteria which are held together by slime and large number of filaments of fungus to form ultimately net-like structures. Okay, now the developing microorganism get digested by a large number of organic matter, changing it to form a microbial biomass. So during this process of action, a large number of minerals have been released. So as the biological oxygen demand of the waste matter becomes less to 10 to 15% of raw sewage, it is then next again sent into settling tank. So when it's been done, you can see it's been sent. All right, the sediment, the primary sludge or the sediment was being sent to the aeration tank. So now once it's been done, like biological oxygen demand of the waste material has become less to 10 to 15%. Now then what it will do, it will again move back into the settling tank. Okay, now it will next set into the settling tank. See, this is the secondary settling tank which I was talking about. This was the primary settling tank. So now again it will move back into secondary settling tank from the aeration tank. Alright. Now the secondary treatment is more or less act as biological treatment. Here the bacterial flocks are allowed to form sediments. The sediment which has been formed in the settling tank is called activated sludge, and a portion of it which has been utilized as an inoculum in the aeration tank. Okay. The remaining portion is sent into a large tank by the help of a pump called anaerobic sludge digester. Okay, so you can see the anaerobic sludge digester. See, this is the anaerobic sludge digester. Okay, so as I was telling you, the portion has been used as inoculum in this aeration tank, and the remaining portion will be sent to a large tank by the help of a pump. So this is acting as a pump. So it's going to be sent into a large tank with the help of this pump. And what is the name of this pump? Anaerobic sludge digester. So anaerobic microbes is been sent into a large tank by the help of anaerobic sludge digester. Okay, now anaerobic microbes basically digest the organic mass which has been present in the sludge together with the aerobic microbes. Now there are two types. Okay, for example, non-methanogenic and methanogenic. The methanogenic anaerobic bacteria produces a mixture containing methane, hydrogen sulfide, and carbon dioxide. So the mixture that's formed finally is called biogas, which is highly inflammable and acts as a good source of energy. And this spent sludge may be utilized for the purpose of manure. Okay. So finally, when all the process is being done, what it will happen? Finally, the treated sewage effluent will now undergo the process of chemical treatment for disinfection. Now, what is the chemical treatment that is being done? The chemical treatment is done to destroy bacteria before allowing it to move freely into natural water bodies like river. Yes, before you can send them into could send them into rivers or anywhere else, you need to undergo the sewage needs to undergo, or you should be the most correct word should be sewage effluent should undergo the chemical treatment for disinfection so that the bacteria get destroyed. Okay, so it should be mentioned that due to insufficient number of sewage treatment in India, very often untreated sewage is being discharged directly into nearby rivers, where creating water pollution, causing waterborne diseases to human beings and other animals. And the final step is the tertiary treatment. What do you mean by tertiary or chemical treatment? This was the final step. The third process of sewage treatment is the tertiary treatment, which is also called as your effluent polishing. Now, this is the final treatment which is provided to raise the quality of effluent before it has been discharged into the environment like rivers, stream, lakes, ground. Alright. So, what is happening? The effluent may contain a high quantity of nutrient together with nitrogen and phosphorus. So, a large amount of those nutrients liberated in the environment basically helps to build up an adequate amount of nutrients called eutrophication. Now this can in turn encourage algal bloom. So nitrification and denitrification process occurs by the help of the bacteria Nitrosomonas and Nitrobacter respectively for the removal of nitrogen. Okay, that is the most important criteria. So phosphorus is basically removed by means of specific bacteria called your polyphosphate accumulating organisms, whereby large amount of phosphorus accumulates within the bacterial cell. So the effluent is disinfected by treating with chemicals like ozone, right, chlorine, sodium hypochlorite, or by means of ultraviolet light to destroy the bacteria for the purpose of drinking, bathing, irrigation, and also for other purposes. So finally, water has been treated in this manner, which has been stated as shown you in the chart. Now it's returned back into the water cycle for the purpose of agriculture use in the field. Okay. So now let's focus on the next topic, which deals with the concept of biogas production. The biogas production is carried out under anaerobic process in an airtight, closed, generally 10 to 15 feet deep cylindrical concrete tank made up of cement or steel. This tank is basically called a digester. The tank is provided with a concrete inlet basin on one side for supplying fresh cattle dung in the digester. Now, on the other side of the tank, there is a concrete outlet for removing the digested sludge, waste matter from the tank. The top portion of the tank functions as the gas tank. Now, it is provided with an outlet pipe for the exit of biogas. Fresh cattle dung is to be supplied through the inlet pipe into the digester from a large pit where cattle dung is stored. The supplied cattle dung is allowed to stay in the same condition for more than 1 month. Sufficient amount of gas which is stored generally comes out through the outlet pipe. That biogas formed is used for household purposes and also used in nearby houses. So the digested sludge from the concrete tank is removed and can be utilized as fertilizer. It is to be mentioned that the digester should remain under soil for the benefit of insulation given by the soil. Okay, so the above plant is called a gobar gas plant. So there are certain advantages of this biogas. Like biogas does not cause pollution, Biogas supplies energy as well as fertilizers. Instead of burning organic waste material, the use of the application of biogas is much more open to the full extent. The chances of spread of local pathogen, that is disease causal organisms, are minimized by the application of biogas. In biogas plants, the fertilizer's value of the manure produced is to some extent similar to that of manure produced directly from the organic waste matter. And lastly, the most important one is that biogas can be used for the purpose of cooking and lighting. Okay? In cases of natural method of pest and pathogen control, in which uses of viruses, bacteria, and other insect like agents take part, is called biocontrol or biological control. So, the chemicals which are used in agricultural field as pesticide, insecticides are very much poisonous and harmful to human beings, including animals. Okay, like I'll tell you, like pesticides, herbicide, fungicides, bactericides, insecticide, nematicides, rodenticides, ascarides. Now these ascaricides, these are all toxic chemical substances which are used for different purposes. Bacillus thuringiensis, a bacterial species, have the power to kill different insects like moth, beetles, ants, termites. The bacterium generally possess some insect-killing crystal proteins, out of which one of them is known as thuriosite. Okay, like I'll give you some example. Like ladybird beetle, provided with red and black markings, live by eating aphids. Okay, dragonflies generally prey upon mosquitoes for their food. Bacterium Bacillus thuringiensis can be utilized to control butterfly caterpillars, which act as a microbial biocontrol agent. Okay, the above mentioned bacteria are available in sackets as dried spores in the market, which are next mixed up with water and sprayed by a sprayer in those plants which are being exposed to being attacked or harmed, such as brassica, and fruit trees, where they are taken as food by the larva of the insect. Okay, now Bacillus thuringiensis toxin genes, when introduced into cotton plants by the scientists, such plants generally get the power to resist the attack of insect pests like bt cotton, which has been cultivated in some states of India. Okay, now another pathogen is your baculoviruses, which attack insect pest and some other arthropods. The genus Nucleopolyhedrovirus is one of the baculoviruses which caused as biocontrol agents. Okay, then the insect Nicotina Oligoroniae, introduced from Latin America to India, is being used to control aquatic floating plant water hyacinth, that is your Acornia crassipes. Okay, so on the solen petiole of water hyacinth, the female insect lay egg. Now from the egg, larva develop, which takes the petiole as food, and in turn the adult feed on leaf, and finally the destruction of the entire plant results. Okay, now let's focus on microbes as biofertilizers. First, let me tell you what is a biofertilizer. Microorganisms like bacteria, cyanobacteria, and fungi, when added to the soil, enrich the soil nutrients due to their biological activity, and thereby increases the nitrogen content of the soil by nitrogen fixation, and this is only termed as your biofertilizer. So, what is the importance of biofertilizer? To increase the output in case of high yielding varieties of crop plants, chemical fertilizers are being used in heavy amount. Beside accumulating in the crop plant, chemical fertilizers cause the pollution of organisms living in aquatic conditions, further in groundwater also. So, for that reason, environmentalists are focusing the farmers to go for organic farming, or you can say pressurizing the farmers to go for organic farming, leaving the chemical fertilizers. Manures, biofertilizers, and biocontrol agents provide necessary nutrient to crop plant so that the pest and pathogen may remain under necessary control without causing any harm to the crops. Bacteria, fungi, cyanobacteria are the major sources of biofertilizers. Now, some of the most important and functional biofertilizers are like I'll tell you the names. Like first, I'm going to tell you about the bacteria like Bacillus polymixa, Pseudomonas trita. Species of Aspergillus have the power to release phosphate from bound or immobile form and remain unable to be in dissolved state. So these biofertilizers are termed as your microphos. Okay. Then the bacterium Azotobacter, existing in the field of rice, maize, cotton, jowar, not only helps to increase the yield of those plants but also saves the supply of nitrogen fertilizer in those fields. So its inoculation can be obtained from the market under the trade name. And what is that trade name? Azotobacterin. Okay. Then symbiotic nitrogen fixing bacteria like the gram negative and the rod shaped bacterium. The gram-negative rod-shaped bacterium Rhizobium enters from the soil as infection threads into the roots of leguminous plant, where due to the influence of certain substances like biotin or amino acids, enzyme sugars and enzyme may cause the root cell to divide, forming root nodules. So certain growth substances like indole acetic acid secreted by the bacteria causes root hairs to curl. Then symbiotic nitrogen fixing bacteria like Rhizobium leguminosarium is residing in the root nodules of leguminous plant, and what they do, they basically converts the nitrogen of air to soluble nitrates. So nitrates are used by host plants which result increased growth and yield. So with the death of the host plant, root nodules release bacteria as well as nitrates into the soil. So symbiotic bacteria Rhizobium basically fixes atmospheric nitrogen in presence of pigment, and the name of the pigment is leg hemoglobin. Okay, the only hemoglobin like protein which is found to be present in higher plants. Okay, now it facilitates the diffusion of oxygen to the very rapidly respiring nitrogen fixing symbiotic bacteroids within the root nodule cells, thereby stimulating the ATP production. Okay, then you have the another example is your Azolla anabina symbiosis. Okay, Anabina azole, a cyanobacterium, lives in cavities of leaves of a fast growing fern Azolla, which helps in nitrogen fixation and in return excrete nitrogenous compound into the leaf cavity of the fern. So application of Azolla in the rice field basically results in increased yield. So loosely associated nitrogen fixing soil called Azospirillum lipoferrum increases the yield of the plant. So these are the certain examples to establish the fact that yes, microbes can also act as your biofertilizers. So when we are studying, we need to know what is the importance of biofertilizer. So the yield of the plant can be increased by 15 to 35% by the application of biofertilizers. The inoculum which has to be applied in the field can be prepared by the farmers themselves. The soil structure gets improved by the application of biofertilizers. In semi-arid condition, biofertilizers are also effective, giving a good result. So they disallow pathogens to grow in a vigorous way. Some vitamins and growth promoting biochemicals can also be produced by them. So now let's focus on mycorrhiza. Symbiotic association of some fungi with roots of seed-bearing plants is termed as mycorrhiza. Two types of mycorrhiza are being noticed or notified. The first one is ectotrophic mycorrhiza, or you can term it as ectomycorrhiza. In this case, the fungus live outside the tissue of root of pine, oak, eucalyptus, alnus, betula. The fungus, replacing the normal root hairs of the plant, forms a covering or mantle outside the roots of trees. So this mantle increases the surface area of absorption, thereby increasing the uptake of water and mineral nutrients, and in turn increases the plant vigor, growth and yield. So this mycorrhiza basically absorbs and stores nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium in their fungal mantle. Simple organic molecules are formed from complex organic molecules by them. So they also convert insoluble organic compounds into soluble and easily absorbable forms. So a network is formed when the fungal hyphae penetrate the intercellular spaces of the cortex of the root to form finally a net-like structure which is known as your Hartig net. Okay. And this next one is endotrophic mycorrhiza. Endotrophic mycorrhiza or endomycorrhiza. So obviously endo means in and ecto means out. So when endomycorrhiza I'm saying, that means the fungus is going to live inside the root cortex and does not form a mantle on the surface of the root. This mycorrhizal association is called endotrophic mycorrhiza. You can follow the pictures. These associations are found in herbaceous species like orchids, some woody plants. Here, fungus produces loosely interwoven hyphae, okay, some of which penetrates the soil while others grow on root cortex. So in the cortex, some hyphae grow in between the cortical cells, while some penetrates the cortical cell, forming swollen vesicles or finely branched hyphal masses called arbuscles. So these fungal association is only termed as vesicular arbuscular mycorrhiza or VAM. So mycorrhizal association noted in the root of legumes, cereals, tobacco, soybean, and many orchids like vanilla, neotia. Okay. So what is the importance of mycorrhiza in relation to plants? Now they increase the lifespan of the roots of the plant by providing food to them. They increase the surface area of roots of host plant by mantle formation. Fungus spread their mycelia into the soil from where they absorb different kinds of nutrients causing increased growth of the plant. Mycorrhizas plays an important role by absorbing selective elements like calcium, potassium, iron, chlorine, sulfur, and nitrogen, which move easily, and also elements which do not move like zinc, chlorine, phosphorus. Some of the mycorrhizas produce metabolites which can change the power of plants to develop roots from wood plant cuttings. Okay, they enhance better development of root during vegetative propagation. Resistance power of plant also increases. They make less effect of pathogen and pest on host plant health, so they become free from illness. So with this, the chapter comes to an end. Now it is your responsibility to go through this presentation, even go through the chapter that's given in your textbook, go through all the details, go follow all the instructions that are given in this presentation. If you have any queries or problem regarding this chapter or any other chapter which has been taught till now, then please feel free to communicate with me. My mail ID has been provided at the end of the presentation. So if you have any problem, then please do get it clarified from me by sending your queries or doubts in my mail ID. So thank you and have a good day.